Hi, this is Grace Thomasmeyer, and this is my sewing technique tutorial. I'm going to be making a octopus out of an old spare glove. So what you need is the old spare glove, some thread, a needle, buttons, and a little bit of old fabric, and some beans to put in the glove. So the first thing you do is you take the glove and you turn the thumb inside out so that now your finger only has 4 gloves and the thumb is on the inside. It looks like you got a little hole there. So then you take your needle and put some thread on it, and you sew up the thumb hole. Gloves have sort of big stitches, so what you want to do is when you put the first stitch through, you want to pull it almost all the way through, but still have a little bit at the end. Now this part's a little tricky. You take it, and instead of pulling all the way through, you go and you put your needle through the loop that you made, like by your knot. So it goes through, and you pull it, and that way it'll stay, or else it'll just pull all the way through. So then you just do a loop stitch to sew it up. So you just go through one end, pull it all the way through, and back around the back, and you're sewing from the same side each time. So you keep putting the needle in the same side. Instead of a back and forth, you pull it in, you loop over, and go back in the same side. Now keep the hole nice and tight. So you just want to sew that up. Oh, getting caught on the fingers. So sew it up. Okay. So when you get to the final end, you do the same thing. You take your needle that you did at the beginning, you take your needle, and you go back through the loop that you made to tie a knot in it. You can do it once or twice just to make sure you got a good knot. Okay. And then you set the needle down somewhere safe, and you cut the thread. Alright, so now the hole is all sewn up and your glove looks something like this. So next you want to sew on eyes. So pick out buttons, 2 buttons to create your eyes with. So I'm going to give my octopus blue eyes. So I'm getting 2 blue buttons. Now the thread that you take your thread again, and I have to tie a new knot in mine because I just trimmed it off. Alright. Okay. Now it doesn't matter which side you sew the eyes on, but to start, about where you're gonna sew your eye, you take the glove and you pinch it a little so that you got all the fabric, and you put the needle through, and you pull it almost all the way through. But before you get all the way through, you take your needle again, like you did with the thumb, and you separate the 2 pieces that make up the thread you're using and put the needle back through it. That way it won't just slide through. Alright, so now it's pulling on the thing. You take your button and you put your needle through the button and bring it all the way down. So now my button is on my glove. It's going to move. It's not attached quite yet. So then you gotta be very careful not to poke yourself. you take your needle and you put it back through one of the buttonholes, not the same one you just came through, and you stick it back into the glove. And like you did before, you sort of pinch it and push it all the way through. That way you don't have the needle in the glove. You can see it at all times. And you pull that tight. So you pull it all the way through. Then you can do it again if you want to secure it. So you take your needle and you stick it through the back of the button. Oops. Stick it through the back of the button. Pull it all the way through. You stick it in the into another hole, a different one than you just came through. You pull it through. And then you pinch the glove, and right underneath the button you stick it through the glove again. Now this time don't pull all the way through, and you'll have this loop from your thread. You stick your needle through that loop, and now pull tight. Alright, so that's one eye sewed on. So you trim off your thread, trim off the thread, and now you have one eye attached. Okay, so now your octopus needs a second eye, so we're going to do the same thing. I've got to tie a new knot in my thread that I'm using. And you do the same thing. You start by pinching the fabric where you want it to be and putting the needle through the pinch you just made. So you pinch it and you pull the needle through, you put it through and pull it, but not all the way. So you have a little bit on this end and a little bit on this end. Now you take the end of the thread and again you separate the two threads that make up the full thread on the side that doesn't have your needle. Alright, and you stick your needle through it so that it won't slip through. Pull it tight. So now it's all connected. You take the second button and put it through on the needle and bring it all the way down back to the glove. Now you're going to stick the needle back through the button, through a different hole, just like the first one, and bring it all the way back down so it's attached. Now you're going to pinch the glove underneath the button and go through the glove again. Alright. You pull that all the way tight so your button's all the way attached. Now you go back up through the one of the buttonholes, pull all the way through, and back through a different hole than the one you just came through. So now, putting it through, you pull it through all the way again. So now we're tying it off just like we did the other one. You pinch the fabric, you sew all the way through, you pinch and you put the needle through, but don't pull it all the way through because you want to take your needle and go through the loop of thread that you just made, and then you pull it tight. Alright, so now your glove has two eyes on it. Now you take the thread and you trim it off. Trim off the ends a little. Alright, so that is the first step to making the octopus.